Hey everyone, DCB here again. This is going to be a little bit of a show and tell, trip down memory lane type of video, just for fun. The other day, my friends Patricia and Scott were selling this Revell Dr. Seuss Goudy the Dowdy Grackle kit in their shop for like a really good price, and I just had to buy it. I've had this kit before, and of the 6 different zoo characters in this Revell line, I've always liked Goudy the best for some reason, and I'm extremely familiar with this particular line of model kits because back in the 90s, my ex and I were one of the largest Seuss collectors in the world. We had so much of it, from all of the Revell kits of the 60s to the talking Mattel toys and Sears bedroom decor of the 70s to the whole Coleco line of the 80s, as well as a considerable amount of other Seuss swag from pretty much every decade. We bought whatever we could find from Seuss's early 1930s advertising days to these incredible store displays from the JCPenney's clothing line that were in the stores at the time. And living in the semi-smallish Minneapolis Twin Cities area, this stuff was extremely hard for us to find. It was not like it all what it is today, where you can just find most anything with a few clicks of a mouse. This was the early 90s, before eBay, and really before the internet as we know it today even existed. So to obtain this stuff required going to a lot of toy shows and flea markets and thrift stores and antique shops. And odd as it may sound, most of these pieces were almost too new for it to show up at the antique or toy shows at the time, since these shows and stores were mostly a boomer centric affair and they were only selling their mid century boomer era toys. We were almost looked at and almost looked down upon in the antique world as, the goofy youngins at these toy shows, buying all that new crap. The Gen X era stuff hadn't quite trickled into the collector's world much yet. But a major connection to the bigger outside toy collector world was Toy Shop Magazine, which was an old school, printed monthly publication of ads from sellers from around the country slinging their vintage toys. We would pay extra just to get it delivered the next day to try to get a jump on the competition. And being a couple of 20-something-year-olds with entry-level jobs and a newborn baby, we didn't have a lot of extra money lying around, so that was another huge challenge. But even with all these obstacles, we still managed to put together a pretty dang respectable Seuss collection. Some of my favorite pieces included this inflatable Horton, the elephant toy that was given away as a premium from Nabisco, and the 4-foot tall Coleco Cat in the Hat that was, I think, sold exclusively at FAO Schwartz. And of course, all the box Mattel toys and this foam prop head that was used in the production of the 1994 Seuss documentary In Search of Dr. Seuss.
Come along with me in search of Dr. Seuss.
We'll try to catch him if we can.
He's out there on the loose. Come along with me in search of Dr. Seuss. I know the people.
Around 94 or maybe 95, the collection and I were featured on a local Twin Cities cable access show called Collecting Stuff with Butts and Wits.
Welcome back to Collecting Stuff with Butts and Wits. I'm Mike Butler. It's the featured collector guest portion of the program. This gentleman I found over at La La Land in Hopkins. Found out he collects a unique thing that I hadn't even thought about. Cat in the Hat stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Dallas Pogue is here. Hi, Dallas.
Hello.
First off, I want to thank you for coming in. I know first off you pinch hit because another guest bailed, a friend of Steve's. We won't go into that. And you're not feeling the best, so you're doing a yeoman's job already.
Yep.
Thank you for being here. First, let the people know why you decided on Cat in the Hat stuff.
We picked up a few things here and there, and we just kept it. We liked it, and just kept building up on it. And
Is it exclusively Cat in the Hat, or is it
no,
other?
just anything Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
We brought as many pieces as we could fit in the car and would fit on their small set. And I tried to have a good representation of each of the various Seuss licensees. This was my first time on any sort of TV interview type thing. and I was and still am extremely shy and awkward. It also didn't help that I was having an ocular migraine at the time, so my vision was all blurry and I had a massive headache and nausea, but I made it through and I did an okay job, I guess.
And he did a Cat in the Hat book, and that's what really made him popular.
Okay.
And the model came out a couple years after that. That's kind of a rare model.
Okay.
And then after that, he had six different zoo kits here that were kind of based on characters of his, and these are two of them here. And they were interchangeable. You could change the parts into each one.
Well, they're kind of like a cootie then, aren't they?
Kinda, but it's not really.
But by Revell.
But Revell.
Revell stuff's really collectible. All that stuff from
The
that
cat
era.
model and the Yertle game of Revell. They're probably the earliest.
How about your doll
cover.
here?
And then in the 70s, Mattel got a hold of them, and they made the talking cat, which still talks.
All right, get him to talk, or put it by your mic. And
Sometimes I bump into things.
it's kind of like Matt.
And the talking Yertle, which, I don't know, if you hear that?
No, kind of.
Kinda.
He's a little
Mattel made.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Dallas for being here.
Thank you.
If you have any information about Dr. Seuss stuff, or you would like some information from Dallas, you can write.
I also got to do an article about the collection in the aforementioned Toy Shop magazine. I wish I still had a copy of that, but it's been since long lost. Maybe someone out there has it. A few years later, in the later 90s, when the internet started becoming a thing, I put together a website of sorts using the free AOL servers to showcase the collection and hopefully meet other Seuss collectors. If I remember right, AOL allotted you like 2 megabytes of server space per screen name, and you could have 5 screen names per account. So that meant like a whopping 10 megabytes of images and HTML you could host. So my website was a lot of, jumping links between the various screen names I had, kind of, cobbled together. It was always a challenge to make sure every image was as small and bite size as possible, which kind of sucks because all those photos I took and the graphics I made then are now in such low resolution that they're, basically useless now. And I've always been a Mac guy too, so I remember the aggravating frustration of working so hard to make sure everything looked as perfect as possible, and then I'd see my site on a friend's PC and things were just all over the place and nothing worked right. And I really hated designing for those early internet days. Shortly after, when I outgrew my AOL servers, I registered an actual domain name and had an actual server with oodles of storage, probably an unimaginable 100 megabytes or something, which I could never possibly use in a million lifetimes. The domain name I chose was SeussNavy.com, as this was my user screen name I used on the various message groups I was on at the time. The name Seuss Navy originates from an early Dr. Seuss ad campaign he did for Esso Oil Company in the 1930s. There was a variety of paraphernalia that you could buy or maybe get for free from Esso gas stations featuring, the different characters and promotions that he did. The website got a pretty good following and was even featured in this newspaper magazine from November 2000 about the exciting world of the internet. It probably didn't get the visitors that a site like that would get today, as again, this was early internet and it was also a pretty niche subject matter, but it did get the attention of Dr. Seuss Enterprises, and they threatened to shut me down for copyright infringement. I pleaded with them by, disclosing the amount of visitors I got and how popular it had become amongst, Seuss fans. And then they reconsidered and looked through the site more thoroughly and decided to actually let me continue with the website as long as I made a few changes. So their lawyers went through every page with a fine-tooth comb and then FedExed me a packet of physical paper printouts of each page screen capped, with notations on the things that needed to be changed or omitted. It was mostly just little things, like removing little personal things I had, put up throughout the site. Uh, they just wanted it to be strictly Seuss related, which makes sense. The site and the collection continued on for several more years until July of 2000 when we decided to put the entire collection up on eBay. I'm not sure what led up to this, probably money issues or something, or we were just tired of it. I think a lot of the reason was because this was around the time that that Wubulous World of Dr. Seuss Muppet show thing had been on TV, and the Grinch movie was coming out in theaters later that year. The World of Dr. Seuss was opening up at Universal Studios, and there was just so much merchandise for all that, and a bunch of other new stuff that was also out in stores. It wasn't so much an embarrassment of riches; it was more of just an embarrassment. I just didn't like to be associated with those god awful shows, and I didn't want to piece the collection out individually though, as I didn't want to pay for all these, separate listings, nor be left with the lesser valued items, nor did I want to pack up a million different boxes to a million different winners. Plus, I wanted it to be a, big, exciting event auction that would bring in a lot of people. And I knew by doing this, it would kind of limit how many people would be able to afford it. But I also knew there were a couple of big players out there that would fight against each other and jack up the price. And that they did. I started the auction at $5, which I always do to give the pretense of a fighting chance. And in the end, the auction ended at $9,100, which was and still is a huge amount of money for me. I don't remember what we did with the money. We probably paid off bills or something boring like that. After the auction, my interest in all things Seuss had really waned, and I no longer had any interest in maintaining the website. But I didn't want to close it down entirely. I mean, it was a fan favorite, and it felt selfish of me to take it all down. So I decided to pass it on to another Seuss enthusiast so he could continue on with it. But when I told Seuss Enterprise about that, they didn't like that idea. They said that the agreement I signed was for me and me only to run the site and not to be passed off to anyone else. I'm not sure why they wanted it this way, but that's how it was. So I shut it down, which is kind of sad, but some parts of it still exist on the Internet Archive. Just don't look at it on a PC. The winner of my auction actually ended up going in on it with another Super Seuss collector. They split the payment and split up the pieces, and I don't remember who got what, but one of the winners was this nice fella named Charles Cohen. He's a Seuss fanatic and knows way more than me. He literally wrote the book on the subject. He told me that a lot of the pieces ended up going into the Seuss Museum in Springfield, Massachusetts. So that gives me kind of a good feeling inside knowing that I contributed to that in some way. I should probably go visit that place someday. He credits me in the back of the book as being the original Dr. Seuss guru, which seems a little too much of a title to have bestowed upon me. I was just a humble collector, but that was nice of him anyway. Whenever I start a collection on a specific subject matter, I tend to buy anything and everything related to it. I did that with Seuss. I did it with Twiggy, with Play-Doh, cereal boxes, lunch boxes, all sorts of other collections that I've had in the past. I buy it all, and then I just kind of get overwhelmed with it, and I want to sell it all off at once. It's kind of all or nothing, but then I'll think about one or two pieces out of that collection that I kind of miss, and then I'll go back and just buy those few pieces. I think I need to have it all in front of me at first to kind of know what I really like and don't like. I actually did that again with Seuss stuff about 15 years ago. I bought a bunch of the Mattel stuff back because that was always kind of my favorite of the Seuss stuff. But I did end up selling that stuff off again a short time later when I purged all my toys off to buy my motorbike. As for the Seuss stuff I have now, it's pretty minimal. I just have the lunchbox, the guitar, the small Cat in the Hat talker, and then the Gaudi. There's a couple other pieces I wouldn't mind having, and I still search every day on eBay for them, but it's not nearly as exciting or gratifying when I do find them. And my collecting style has also changed over the years. I no longer focus on one or two subject matters and then go all in on it. I now just buy random bits from all sorts of different properties. Like I don't have a desire anymore to own all the cereal boxes anymore, just a handful of my favorites. And the same goes for everything else. I buy just a piece I like the most, and somehow it all works together in this menagerie of a collection. So that was the story of my Dr. Seuss collection and my life from 30 years ago. Hope you liked it. That's all. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Darn, that's the end.
Thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel and follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Dustin Cropsboy. Also check out our TeePublic page for t-shirts you can buy to help support this channel, or just go to the website dcbvarietyhour.com for all the links.